Get ready to tune in, turn back the dial, and rediscover the airwaves of yesteryear. This is Echoes from the Past, your backstage pass to the shows that changed everything.
All right, let's dive into the shadowy and fascinating world of the Falcon. Imagine this, a classic noir radio show with all the moody vibes you'd expect. Dark alleys, clever twists, and of course those tense phone calls that set the stage for adventure. At the center of it all is Michael Waring, or as he's known, the Falcon. He's a private investigator, but with this twist. He's kind of an insurance investigator, too. And what makes him stand out is, well, his slightly British accent, which just, adds this air of sophistication to his character. It's not detective with a gruff voice, right? It's a bit different. It's unique. Michael Waring is the kind of guy who always gets a call from a mysterious woman at the start of almost every episode. That's how his cases often begin. Just classic noir, right? It's fascinating because he's not your typical hard-boiled investigator. He's got this blend of being sharp, resourceful, but also approachable. Maybe that's why audiences connected with him back then. It's that balance, Now, let's not forget about Nancy. Yes, Nancy, his secretary. She's not just some minor side character hanging out in the background. I mean, think about it. In an era where most women on shows were written as damsels or, well, less capable, Nancy feels like she's got her act together. She's smart. You can tell she has this backbone. You'd assume she's the one making sure Waring doesn't, stumble too much. This dynamic between the two of them, it gives the story a grounding element, making it real and kind of relatable. So, when we look at a show like The Falcon, it's not just about unraveling mysteries or catching the bad guy. It's got this larger-than-life storytelling, but with these small human connections woven through, making it memorable decades later. And honest to goodness, these elements from The Falcon really defined part of that golden era of radio noir storytelling. Funny thing is, these charming, intricate setups were only half the magic. The rest? Well, that came from the stories themselves. Like the episode Friendly Target, which is just... Now, Friendly Target takes what you'd expect from The Falcon and layers in even more intrigue. Right from the start, it's got that signature opening, a mysterious woman on the other end of a phone line. This call, like always, sets the tone. It's understated, just enough to pull Michael Waring and the audience into the story. And honestly, isn't that call almost theatrical in itself? You're already in suspense before you even know what's happening. Here's what's fascinating. The plots almost feel like puzzles, right? With Friendly Target, each clue is placed so deliberately that you're leaning in, trying to piece it all together, but never quite sure if you're ahead of Waring. And just when you think you've got it all figured out, bam, a sharp twist turns the entire thing on its head. This episode doesn't just tell a story. It kind of toys with you, keeping you, just on the edge of certainty. But what's even more impressive is how this show managed to stay in this clean, family-friendly space while still showing noir's darker edges. It's not grim or, let's say, too heavy. There's a balance. Friendly Target is about danger and deception, sure, but the dialogue and tone keep it approachable. This might be something that made shows like this work so well back then. You could imagine families gathering around the radio experiencing these stories together. And honestly, those family evenings, all listening to stories filled with shadows and light as if everyone's sharing a secret, that's something special. Simple moral storytelling, wrapped in a noir mystery, but done just right, with room for suspense for everyone in the room. They made it seem easy, like anyone could listen and feel drawn in. The opening, the characters, even the way Friendly Target weaves its layers, it's like the perfect formula. There's just something about radio dramas that stirs up this deep sense of nostalgia. And honestly, it's not just the stories or the characters. It's the whole experience. Radio dramas have this timelessness. Like they exist somewhere between the gap of imagination and reality. And that's where the magic happens, right? It's like you're not just hearing the story, you're living it in your mind. I remember this one road trip years ago with my family. We were driving through the middle of nowhere. Just long, empty highways stretching forever. And to pass the time, my dad found this station that was playing an old radio drama. It might have even been something like the Falcon, though don't quote me on that. But what stuck out to me was how, in that moment, with the windows down and the late afternoon sun casting shadows, it felt like we weren't even in the car anymore. We were there with the characters, solving the case. It's kind of amazing, isn't it? How something so simple can transport you so completely. But one thing I've been thinking about as I was diving into this episode is how access to these programs still has barriers. I mean, region-restricted content? It's frustrating for fans who, just want to connect with these stories from anywhere in the world. These dramas have this global legacy, and honestly, it feels like a shame that someone out there, maybe someone who'd adore a show like The Falcon, they just can't listen because of where they live. Technology has taken us so far, yet we're still figuring out how to make culture truly universal. And maybe, as creators, lovers of storytelling, and listeners, we have a role to play in making sure these timeless tales find their way to modern audiences, no matter where they are. Because, let's face it, radio dramas are more than just entertainment. They're like cultural landmarks. They remind us of the power of imagination and the ways stories connect us across time zones and generations. So, to everyone who loves this art form, or is just discovering it for the first time, here's what I'll say. Treasure it, share it, revisit it. Because these stories, they're not just echoes of the past, they're living reminders of how creativity can flourish, even in the humblest forms like a voice on the radio. On that note, we'll see you next time. Keep listening, keep imagining.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through the airwaves of the past. We hope you've enjoyed exploring the classic radio shows that shaped generations and left a lasting legacy. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode of Echoes from the Past. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to share it with fellow fans of history, storytelling, and vintage radio magic. Until next time, keep your dial set to the golden era and let the echoes of the past remind us of the timeless power of radio.